Hello everyone, welcome to part 5 of the fundamentals of Next.js and Prisma. Now in this part we are going to continue from where we left off in the last part. In the last part we talked about rendering, we talked about data fetching and streaming. So we are going to use what we learned in that last section to continue building the other parts of our application. And we are also going to be filtering, sorting and doing pagination with Prisma and in our application. We're going to implement search with a search param, a use param, path name, and use router. And more, we're going to use server components as we move down the line. So with that said, let's get started on building the orders page. So let's go right back into code. So I'll come to Prisma folder here. I'm going to get all the orders of our application. So I'm going to create a new. I'm going to get all orders here. Say export, get orders. Yes, and to get the orders. So we are done. This is okay for now. I'm going to close this cards. We don't need this other page for now, and also with the skeletons. I'm going to actually pin this here. Yes. Okay, let's come to page here, which is for orders. Let's just try to call or make this an asynchronous function for now. Okay, what's happening? This is going to be async, and I want to just call the get orders const orders await get orders. Let's say orders. Now I'll refresh this page. Come back to the application. Yes, we have all the orders here. We have all the orders here. This is yes, we have ID, theory, product image, product name. This is the user ID, description, and also we have the users here as well, but we are not going to be needing this user here, so we can remove the user. We don't need to include the user in Prisma here. I'll just I'll remove this include statement here. We are going to do some other things with that include statement, but for now I'm just going to remove it. So if you come here, you see that it's gone from here. Yes, voila. Now we have our orders. Now what I want to do, the first thing I'm going to do here is I want to have our up bar. I'm going to bring our up bar into this page here. So here, the first thing I'll even do here is to change this to, this is main. We'll try to write semantic HTML. Class name here, width is going to be full, overflow is going to be hidden, and height is going to be full, like this. And in here, I'll say up bar. Let's just give some React fragment here, and in here we're going to have a div. Here the class name is a text XL. On medium device, we want to give the text of 2XL, font of bold, and text indigo. This is going to be indigo 100. And in here I'm just going to say orders. Actually this is an h let's just say this is going to be an h2 element here. This is h2. Down here I'm going to have another div here, and I'll give the width here is going to be 40, and on medium device I'm going to give the width to be 800 pixels, like this, and we'll say relative. This is where we are going to have our search orders here. We're going to have our search orders in here. And this search order, so I'm going to write a component for it rather than just putting it here, because it's going to be a client component. This search input here is going to be a client component, so I'm going to write a component for it. Yes, so let's come to orders here. Under UI, come to orders. I'll create a new file and I'll call this search dash orders.cxs. Let's say RFCE search orders. Okay, so here I'm going to just give a width here, a width of full, no, class name first, and a width of full. So here I'm just going to have a label. This is label, and we don't need all of this here. Here I'll just say, oh, SR only. This is for screen readers only. That section. And input here, our placeholder is going to be search for orders. Search for orders. Okay, so I'm going to give more space here so that, yes, we see what we are doing. The height here is okay, and px here I'm going to give the padding x of 5. Okay, yes, a padding x of 5, not 6, and a padding y of 3. So rounded, it's going to be MD. Okay, that means we already have rounded MD here. I'm going to remove this one. The text here is going to be x large, and let me see the styles which I have here. Focus is outline, focus borders indigo. Instead of focus border here, I'll say ring here, and I also want to give on focus, I want to give a ring of 2. This ring here is going to be 400, not 500. So this is 400. And here we have a background. I'm going to give a background of indigo 550. I mean, yes, indigo 50. And we also have to give a placeholder. Okay, we already have background here. I'm going to remove this other one. So here I can say placeholder dash indigo 400. Now let's go and check. Okay, this is what we have for the moment. Okay, we don't yet our text box is not showing because we need to bring it into our page. So we need to bring it in our page.cxs here, and this is where we need to bring it. So search orders, let's see. Okay, this is it we have here. Yes, so we have the search input here. Okay, it's better. We also need to add like a magnified glass here that indicates that this is a search input. We need to add a magnified glass here. So come back and go into search here. Right after this input, I'm going to add magnifying glass, and this is going to be magnifying glass icon. Yes, want this solid on. So let's look at the styles here. The indigo 400, we are translating it according to the y-axis, that is 50 up and down here using this transform property, and we are given a little bit we are shifting it to the right, and to the top is 50-50, and this is going to be absolute because we set this page here, we set here to be relative. Therefore, if that is absolute, we are going to, it's going to be positioned relative to this this div here with 800 pixels width. So let's check it now. Okay, you see, this is it here. Now we have our up bar here. Now let's begin to work on the table. Now let's come down to the UI folder here, go to orders. Let's create a new file here in orders, and I'm going to call this order dash links.txs like this, and I'll scaffold a new project here, and I'll call this order links. Here I'll give a class name here of flex, margin bottom, not margin bottom actually, margin y of 5, and item is going to be centered, and I want to give a gap of also 5. This gap is going to be 5, not 4 or 6, 5. Okay, and here I also want to give a text of x large here, and the text here is going to be indigo 300. Okay, like this. In here I'll replace this here with a link like this, and this link is coming from next link. Don't forget to import this from next link. So I'm going to create a variable here, also let status. We're going to change this later. This is just so that we have something to work with here, and I'll give some class names here. But before giving that class name, let me just name this link here as all orders here, and I want to give a class name here, and we are going to conditionally write the class name. So let's bring in our good friend here. Here I'll say cursor pointer, yes, like this, and now we can conditionally write our class names here. So what we are doing, what I want to do here is, I'll just first give, I'll say text dash indigo 500 underline if status is equal to all. Now this is for the first case. Let's, if status, I also give another text dash indigo 300 this time around if status here is different from all. So I'm going to copy down this. I'll copy this, Ctrl V, 2 times like this, and here I'll say on the way, and here this is going to be on the way. I'll do the same thing here. This is going to be should we call this pending or delivered? Okay, delivered. I want to have only 2. You can add pending if you want. It's the same thing. So delivered like this. Okay, now we have our links here. Let's say yes, we just now need to bring these other links into the page here. Just immediately after this up bar here, I'll say order links here. Okay, fantastic. So let's go and check in our code and see if we have just that. Okay, we have them here. We have all orders on the way, it's delivered. So let's continue. I'll come back here. We need to create another file right inside these orders here. I'll call this table. This is going to be our table now. So RFCE to scaffold a table. I'll say table here. Now what I'll do with this table is, I'll just let's first come to the page here. Just after this, I'm going to call this table. Now I want to cut everything which I have here. We have these orders. I want to cut it because we are going to be fetching our orders right into the table itself. We are not going to be fetching it here because, like as I told you in the lecture about server components, it's good that you fetch your data right in the component where you need that data, rather than setting it like some folders up and you pass it down as pop. You can do that in certain situation, yes, but it's good that you fetch your data right inside the component. And that is what we are going to be doing here. We're going to fetch our data right inside the table component here, and like we've always been doing. So we need to make this function as the synchronous function here, and we need to bring in get orders. So we have our get orders. Now with this table, I'm not going to create a different table. I'm just going to copy the table we have for latest orders here. I'll just copy this and I'll come back to table here and I'll paste this here. We're going to get some errors, but we are going to correct it. I'll just click on this and I'll call this orders. Yes, some of the errors will go away. Now we need to import image from next image. Please take it from next image, and also format date and order status. Now, okay, everything is now happy. Now I want to include some header elements here, so I'm going to duplicate this. Instead of product here, I'm going to have address, and here I'm also going to have price. I want to give enough information about this order here. Now we need another header element here, and this here I'm just going to give a label here. I'm going to give a span here, sorry. And for this span here, I'll just say action here, and I'll give some class names here also. I'll say SR only. This is for screen readers only. Only screen readers will be able to see these actions here. This for. So after adding this, I'm going to come right down to where we are going to put them. Immediately after this, our date. Okay, this is for mobile. Okay, mobile device have its own style, but we are working on the table now. Immediately after the date here, I'm going to duplicate this here, 1, 2, and here instead of format date, I'm going to have address. I'll say order dot destination. This is destination. Oh, not description. Destination dot. I want to slice this a bit. Yes, because I don't want the text to be too long. So I'm going to take like 28 here. For price now, for price is just going to be straightforward. This is going to be order dot price. Okay, now we also have the last section, which is actually going to be for our buttons. So what I'll do here is I'll just say here flex. I'll just give some styles here, additional styles for this. I'll say flex item center like this, and yeah, I'll say text to the right. This is not even necessary because we are not going to be using but only icons. So I'll just remove this here and I'll just write here actions like this. We're going to change this later. This is just so that we see if our table is actually coming to life. So let's check that. Okay, we have it here. Okay, we have the actions here. Okay, we have everything nicely set up here. Now I'm going to have to cut this table, the height of this table, to be something like 75, so that we can have our buttons down here to move back and forth, because I don't want this table to occupy the whole the full height of the screen here, of the remaining section of the screen. So I'm going to give a height of 75% here. So I'll come here. Let's go. I think we need to do that here. Instead of height full here, I'm going to give a height of, let's say 75%. 75. This is for 75% here, like this. And let me see. Okay, yes, but now our text has been is okay, but look, our text is cutting off right down here, so it's bleeding out here. So we need to fix that. So for that, I'll just say here overflow is going to be auto. So okay, now with this, that table is done. Let's go now and work on our buttons. We need to find a way to inject our buttons. So for buttons, what I'll do is I'll create a new file right inside the UI here. I'll create a new file inside the components here. I'll first call this, I'll say button.txs. I'll also create another file right inside the UI, not in components, in the UI itself. I'll call it buttons.txs here. So what is the difference between this? This is going to hold like our custom button. This is going to be our reusable button, while here in these buttons we are going to write some other buttons which we are going to be using. Yes, we're going to write some different buttons we are going to be using here, while here we are just going to write a reusable button which we can use across the application. So here, let's start with this button here. So here I'll just say RFCE. This, we have a new React component here. I want to first define an interface here. This is going to be of type, I'll just call this button props, because we are going, and it's going to, we are going to extend here React dot button attributes, and I'll call this HTML button element, like this. Here I'll just say children. This is going to be of type React dot React node. So here, since this is a function, this is a component here, I'll make it capital letter B, like this. And here I'm going to give some class names here. So it's better I use this library like this. Here the first is going to be a padding px dash 5, py of 3, text is going to be x large, and border is going to be indigo 400, indigo 4. This is 400. Yes, so when we hover over the button, we also want to have a border of indigo 200. Okay, now let me give some more space here so that we see exactly what we are doing. I'm going to give a border of 4, rounded of large, and text is going to be indigo 100, and background is going to be indigo 500. Now we have our stars for the button. Here, what I can do here is I'll just pass in our children for the button name, but first we need to bring that children here. It's going to be children. This is going to be type button prop, and here I just pass the children. So this is still a div, so we need to make this a button, and we need to spread whatever property which we have not given to this button, or say rest, and here we'll just pass in I'll pass in the rest here. This is going to be rest, and now this is rest, like this. Yes, and also I want to pass a class name here, and this class name here, I'm just going to, like, it's going to be for the class names which we are not specifying here. If we want to override class names here, so I'm just going to pass class names like this. Okay, we have an error here. This rest here, rest element must be last. Okay, yes, it's true. This must be last property here. Okay, fine. Now we have our button here. We have our button. We're going to use this button in every part of the application. Now let's go and create another. I'll create another file here. I'll call this pagination. This is going to be for our pagination dot css. So rfce, call this pagination. So how are we going to style this? I'll just give a class, I'll say flex item center, and I'll give a gap here of 6. Yes, and a margin top, I'll give a margin top of probably 5. Okay, 5. Now here I'm just going to bring in our button component here. So here I'll just say button. Okay, not like this. Yes, it's expecting us to pass a child to this button here. So here the first thing I'll say, this is going to be previous, like this. And for the second button, I'll just pass next. We need to now bring this pagination into our page here. Just immediately after the table, I'm going to set pagination. You see the way each component is falling after the other. So you see most of our components are the server components. So you're going to see the reason why we are writing these components like this, so that we should make use of many of our components should be server components, while some components we're going to let them be client components. Just a small portion of our components are going to be client components. Now let's check to see how. Okay, we have the buttons here, but this gap here, we don't have the gap here. This gap, let me fix this gap here. Let's come to pagination here, flex gap. Okay, we didn't specify a gap. Actually, gap is going to be 6. Margin top here, not like this. Let me check again. Okay, this is better now. Okay, fine. So what we need to do, we need to take care of now is this action buttons. After this action button, now we can make the whole of this page now dynamic. We can make our pagination, our filtering, and our search functionality after we complete this action section. So let's go and put these action buttons where they're supposed to be. Come back to the code here. I'm going to create a new we already create a file for buttons. We created a file for buttons. So this is it. Above the skeleton, we have these buttons here. This is where we are going to write those other buttons, because they are not like the buttons for our application. They are just icons, which will just wrap them in a button, which you can click. So that's why I'm going to write them here in this buttons file here. So I'm going to start with the edit, because we're going to have a button to edit. So I'll say export function update order here, and it's going to take an ID, and that ID is going to be type of string here. Oh, what is this? Okay, and this is just going to be, we are just going to return a link from this component here. We're just going to return here, this is going to be link, and make sure you take this link from next link. So in here we need an href, of course, and the href here, I'm just going to say dashboard slash orders slash our ID. And inside this link, I'm going to give a pencil icon like this. Here, I'll just give a width of 5. So let's see if there are other. We need to style also this link. Class name here, I'll say rounded, MD, border, P2, and hover. On hover, we want to give a background of indigo 100, like this. Yes, I think these are all the styles we need for this one. I'm going to copy down this because we're going to need the same, almost the same thing for. I'm going to call this track order. Instead of having a pencil icon here, I'm going to give a map icon. And also the link here is going to be different. Orders, we're going to go to, instead of orders here, this is going to be tracking, and we're going to have a tracking number. So tracking number like this. Yes, it also accepts an ID. I'll copy. This one is going to be for delete. We're going to be able to delete an order. Delete also takes an ID. So here, the delete here is not going to actually be a link. Yes, delete is not going to be a link. So I'll just wrap it in a form element. So, and I'll put this a button. I'll first start by giving this like a button. This is going to be a button. And here I'll say form. I'll wrap all of this in this form. And a button does not have an href, so we're going to remove this href here. Instead of a map icon here, we're going to have a trash icon. And we also want to give another optional, let's say span here, and I'll call this delete order. And here we're going to make this SR only. Okay, we have our 3 buttons here. We're going to now use these 3 buttons. Don't worry about this ID here. Now we are going to use this IDs here very soon, but for now, just it's okay. We're going to use them as we proceed down this course. So if you go back to our table here, let's go back down to these actions. Let's just call. We're going to call the first I'm going to call is our edit. Did I call it edit or update? Edit order, yes. It's expecting an ID here. Yes, it's expecting an ID. Order dot ID. ID string is not assignable to params. So I was wondering what is happening here, but actually this is the edit order, which is not even our button. This is the edit component here. If you look right here, we have this we have the section to edit an order. So that's the component which has been imported here. This is it. We have components, app, dashboard, orders, and edit here. This is it. This is the page which has been imported, but this is not what we want. One update order. So my naming convention is already causing me problems here. Say update orders. Okay, now we can pass the ID here, which is actually going to be order dot id dot to string. Let's just convert the IDs to string. It's going to be string anyway. I'll duplicate this. Instead for I'll say track orders instead for update. Track order, yes. And this is going to be delete order. Fantastic. Now we have this. Let's check. Okay, everything is okay. Okay, you see the buttons here, but we do not have any spaces between them, so I'm just going to add some space between the buttons. Here I'll give a gap of let's say 3. Okay, it's better now. Okay, we have this huge this section here. So right now we have some confusion on this table here, because if you look at the column for address, we have date, and for prices here we instead have the address, and for date here we instead have the price. So we interchange it. Let me just run and go and fix it before we can continue. Let's go to table here. This is the desktop section. I'll need to put, because after address here, address after the product we have address. So let's come to after product we have address, but here if you look, we are still having but the date. So I'll cut this. Oh, I need to come down here. I'll cut this and I'll bring it down to where we have price. I'll paste it there, and this here is the section for price. Instead, this here destination, I'll now bring destination up here, and here I'll just say order dot price. Okay, now it's good. Now let's check for mobile. You see, on mobile we do not have the buttons, so we are going to add the buttons, and we're going to add an address here also. We're going to add address and add the buttons here. We're just going to add the button after these orders here, after this status here. So let's do that. If you come for the section for mobile, I'm just going to copy this TT here. I'm going to replace it with the div. Let's copy it after our order status. I'll just paste it here, and this is going to be a div. Now remove this here, and also this, all of this. Let's check this. Okay, now this one is better now. So yes, it's fine now. We have there I'm going to add the address here. After the title here, I'm going to add also the address here. Yes, after this title, I'm going to add the address. Then we have the date here. So I'll come here. I'm going to just add the address here. This is going to be order dot destination dot slice 0. Let me see, 0 to 25. I'll give 0 to 25 also here. 0 to 25. Okay, we have the address here, and yes. Okay, let's begin putting the functionalities for this orders page by beginning with this search here. We're just going to expand this, because if we want, we can search for something here. Let's say modern, like this. It's going to give us the corresponding order based on the product here, the product name. Also, the address is going to search for on the product name field. It's going to search the address field. It's even going to search the description field. Also, if you find this modern, it's going to return us the order. So we are going to make this search here functional, and also we are going to make this navigation also working. Now let's go and do just that. So we are at the page here. I'll go into this search here, press F12. So we are going to be using we have use path name and use search param. What this does is the use path name is just going to get our path name from the URL. We have seen this before. And also we are going to be using the use search params. What this use search param does is it simply gets our parameter from the URL. For example, all our query strings, it can retrieve all our query strings and our parameters. So you can use the use search parameter for that. And if you notice here, I'm putting use client here. So you need to make this component here also a client component. So make sure you set this component here to a use client component. So with that said, I'll just come here. I'll say const, I'll say search params. Here it's going to use search params, and make sure you get that from next navigation. And path name is going to come from use path name there. And also there is one more thing we're going to use. We're going to use router here. What this use router would do is it will help us navigate from one page, from one route to the other. Yes. So here I'll just say const use router, but instead of doing it like this, I want to destructure the replace method from this use router. I'll say replace. You see, that is it up there. So we're going to use this to navigate between our pages. Now let's create a function which is going to handle this task for us. I'll say const handle search. Handle search. Okay. I'm going to give a search. I'll give a parameter here. So I'll just say search term. This is going to be of type string here, and I'll say const params. We're going to use the URL search parameter API here. So I'll just say new URL search parameter, and I'll pass this search param into this URL search parameter here, and I'll say params.set. We want to set search to whatever search term which we are going to get from this method here. Now this if we do like this, what I want to do, instead of just setting the search here, instead of just setting this search query to this search term here, what I want to do is I want to first check if we have a search term. If we have a search term, then we want to do this. Else, if we do not have a search term, I want to delete that parameter there. See, delete. Search. So with this now, we can just we'll just say replace here, or open like this, and here or just a path name, comma, here we append our query string, our search param behind here. Now we'll open another one, and we just say param here to string. We need to convert it to a string. So with this now, we are going to be redirected to this very page using this replace method. It's going to replace the URL with this path here. What it will do is that it's going to append now this query string behind our URL here. So this is it, and here we can say on change here, on change. I'm going to say handle search and this is going to be e.target.value, like this. We also need to give a default value here. I'm going to give the default value to be this is going to be search params. So search params dot get here, and I'll get search dot to string. So let's check it now. I'll come here. Let's try to search for something. Now it's not going to work right away now because there is something we need to first do. Yes, and besides, we are using here we are using SQLite, which Prisma doesn't support text session for SQLite. So when we go into production, you're going to see this functionality work perfectly. Yes. So if you say modern here, look at our browser. Look at the URL up there. You see that when we type, it changes here. So the benefit of this is that you can simply bookmark this page here. If you bookmark this page, and even when you search for the product and you bookmark this page, if you come back to it later, you're going to see everything is still intact, the same as it was. And also you can share this link to someone, and they'll be redirected back here with everything still in place, with all your filters and all your search queries still in place. So that's the benefit of using the URL search parameter. So like as I told you before, if you search now, it's not working right now. It's because we need to still do some work. Yes, we need to still do some work on our schema before this can get into effect. Now let's go back to the application. If we locate the Prisma, let's locate the Prisma folder here. This is it. Okay, let's come right up here. We need to give a preview because that text search functionality is available in the preview features of Prisma. So we need to just give a full text search. Make sure you write this. Right now in development it's not going to work, but in production it's going to work because we'll be using Postgres in production. We're going to be using Postgres. It's going to work perfectly. So, but make sure you specify this here, this preview features, and you set it to full text search. This didn't. Let's say full text search. Okay, like this. Now let's come to Prisma. Let's complete this get order method here. We didn't finish with this method. Let's just complete it now. Here I'll say order by here. Now we want to sort our product. That's why we're giving this order by. We want to sort it according to the updated at timestamp, and it's going to be in descending order. Now beside that, let's just do pagination one time before we leave this place. I say want to skip here. How many items would I want to skip? I want to skip the page number. We're going to take a particular page number here, -1. We don't yet have the page number, but I'm going to put the page number very soon, times here 10, because we want to have only 10 products at a time. So for that, now I'm just going to get the page here. I'll say page. This is going to be of type integer. Number, sorry. And here we can take 10 products like this. And also let's filter our products here. Say or. Now what to say, let's start with the product name. The product name contains search. We don't yet have the search term here, but we are going to pass that search term here. So search is going to be a string. So you see what we are doing. We are passing search here. That means when the user search for something or a product, is going to come here. Whatever search term we're going to pass here is going to come into this method here, and we are going to be able to receive our product here. If it contains if whatever the user passed is, it matches with what we have in the product name. For example, if the user search for let's say an order, like if the user search for bag, just type bag and it will come and search for bag in our product name. If we have a bag in our product name, it's going to return that particular product here. Now this or statement here, we are doing it because we want to search for multiple columns in our database. We want to search for this particular search query in multiple columns in our database. So product name is just one of those columns. So the other one is going to be status. We want to also search for the status. Let's say contain search also. Let's say for example the user search for pending, so it's going to give us all the pending products in our database. And also the last I'm going to search for here is destination. Rather than search for destination, let's search for description here. I'll say contain also our search. So with this now, you see that our table here is broken because we need to supply all of this. We need to supply the page number and our search string. We need to supply page number and search string right inside to our application. Now, before we go and do that, there is one more thing. When we changed our Prisma schema, we need to regenerate our Prisma client. So I'm going to on my terminal here to regenerate the Prisma client here. I'll say npx Prisma generate. Yes, so our Prisma client is regenerated and this functionality now cannot work in production. Now let's go back here. Let's go back to our table. We need to fix some things in our table because for now our table is broken. Let's come to UI order table here. So for page number here, I'm just going to put 1, and for the search term here, for now I'll just put mo like this. I'm going to change this later so that it should not give us an error. Yes. Now what I want to do is, okay, before I could finish speak, we already have our results here. You see, we have 8 products here instead of 20. So we have 8 because we passed the search term here to be mo. So let me check. Let's go to the application and check. Yes, voila. Here we have only 8 products here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So only 8 products are showing at the moment. Now the question is, how do we get the search term into our page? This search order here, we have this search term here. It is in our URL now. Now to remove this, we don't want this here. Okay, yes. Now remember this search term here, modern, it's in our URL. How do we get this search term into this table here so that we can sort everything? Because we are actually calling our we're actually getting our orders inside this table. So how do we get this search term? Remember I told you something at the beginning of the video that every page has it comes with some props here. You call the search params. It comes with search params here. You can receive the search params from this page here. So this is exactly what we are going to do here. So if you try to lock this search params which we're going to receive from here, you'll see that it's going to contain our search term. So here I'll just say query search params here, and let's give the type to this search param here. So search param, it has a search field here which is of type string, and also it has a pages which is of type string as well, but we don't yet have these pages string. What I want you to do is, let's just lock this search params now to the console. Let's lock it. So clg search params. you see it has this search. Look, it has search term as modern. If you go to our browser here, you'll see that we have this search term here called modern here. So we need to pass now this modern down to this table component here. So that is what we are going to do here. So we can just destructure it here. So const here, I'll get search here. Now rather than destructuring it, because this might not be available here, I'll just say query is equal to search params dot search, like this. If it's not available, we just want to say an empty string like this. Now we just need to pass this query to this table component. I'll say table, it's a query here. It's going to come from query. Now if you come into this method here, we'll just bring our query here, which is going to be query string. And now instead of this here, I'll just pass query here. Let's refresh. Now we see only one product. You see, we have only one product here, which is this modern soft shirt. So if you go back to our application, okay, you see we have actually, yes, we have two products here. And if you look at our this in here, our styling here is not great here. Yes, we need to adjust this. So you see, we have only these two products here. We have this modern soft shirt here, and with this other product here. That means we also have modern in the description of this product here. That's why we are able to see this other product here. We'll take care of this later, but the important thing here is that this is actually working here, because at first when I built this application, this wasn't working. They said from the Prisma documentation, they said the previewed feature for that full text search is only available when you are working with Postgres and MySQL. So yes, I tried. It didn't work for SQLite in development here. So I think that must have been rectified here. So it's working now perfectly. So if you try to go like this, you see everything is back in place. So you see, let's go back. The search functionality is working as expected here. Okay, here we have no product here like this. If we remove this end here, you see we're going to have our two products back here. Now let's go and fix this thing here. Here, remove this height from here. If you come to table here, remove that height from the table. If you have that height on the table, you remove it. So if you go back, yes, it's okay now, because this height was set to 100%. Therefore, since we are setting the height to 100%, it's going to be inherited by this TDs here, and everything is going to be 50-50. So with this, you see the search functionality now is actually okay. You can search for, let's say, small concrete tall, small plastic chase. So this is working now. Another thing I want us to do is, because whenever we are typing here, if we type it too fast, we are querying the database according to the letters which we are typing. Yes, we are querying the database too very fast. So what I want us to do is that let's create a debounce function, so that we can only query the database after a particular amount of time, like let's just say like 300 milliseconds. That is when we can go and query the database within that time. If a user doesn't type anything, then nothing is going to be sent to the database. So let's create a debounce function in order to enhance this search functionality. Let's go back here, and to do that, I'm going to go right to our utils here. Okay, we already have format date here. I'm going to say export const debounce here, like this. So this is the debounce function here. Let me explain to you what is going on here. I understand. I just copied the code and I paste the code here. Now let me explain what this debounce is doing here. It's taking a function and a wait time. This function is taken here is the search function which we already implement. If you come to search order here, it is this function here which we already implement here, this handle search. So it's going to take this handle search here, and the wait time, it can be 500 milliseconds or whatever time which we specified here. The trick is you should specify a time between, let's say, 800 and 200. Yes, 800 and 200 is okay. Now it's going to return us a new function. This is a new function. This executed function here is returning all of this function. That means this debounce here is an higher order function. So what happens is that, so this function, when this function is going to execute when this time here expire, the time which we set here expire, this function is going to execute. Now what happens if this function is invoked when this time is not yet finished elapsing? That means that is when we clear the timeout and we set a new timeout. Remember, we're just setting the timeout here to any. So when this time is not yet elapsed, we're going to clear the timeout. We set a new timeout here. So this is what the debounce function is basically doing here. So let's go to the search here and let's use that debounce function in practice here. So const debounce search. I'm going to bring it from our utils called debounce. Okay, what is this? Yes, and we pass our handle search. I'll set it to 300 here milli, and now we just need to call this debounce search here. We don't need to call this debounce search in our onChange handler. So if you come to our onChange handler here, instead of handle search here, I'll say debounce search like this. So remember, this is going to return a new function, and that this new function is returning us is going to contain this search term. That's why we don't need to specify it here. It's going to contain this search term. That's why we are passing the search term right here. So with this, let's try, let's give it another try and see. Okay, let's refresh here. Okay, it's actually still working. Now let's go. Yes, you see, now it's waiting. Let's say pending. You see, these are all the pending products. You see, we are typing pending here, and you see that it's now searching from our status. All of these products here are pending. Let's try on the way. You see, all of these now are on the way. Let's also try delivered. So you see, it's the same. So this is actually working perfectly fine now. What I want us to do now is to work on pagination. Let's work on pagination. So I'll go back to the application here. Let's go to pagination. We have the pagination here. So for pagination to work, we need to get our total number of orders according to the way we are searching our orders. We need to get the total number of orders according to the way we are searching our orders. So what we need to do is, let's go back to Prisma. Where's the Prisma file here? Okay, this is get orders. I'm going to create another function here. I'll say async function get orders count. This is going to be a count of our orders. Get orders count. Yes, actually it's going to take a string here. I'll just say search, which is going to be a string. It's going to take the search term, whatever search term we're going to pass here. So we are counting. We say await prisma.order.count here, and we are going to pass the same condition which we pass in the get orders, so that whenever we are getting the orders, we are also getting the count of that orders here. You see, we have where order product name content search, status content search, and also description content search. Now with this get order, let's go back to our pagination. If you come to pagination here, we need to call this get orders here. But guess what? This the get order count here, we cannot call it here because this is eventually going to be a client component, and client component doesn't accept asynchronous function. It cannot be asynchronous. So let's just put the use client here before we are talking here. Say use client here. Remove this. So if you try it, you will see if you say async here, it's going to throw you an error. If you try to get your goods here, let's say await, let's say get order count. Here we need to pass a search term. Let's just pass that more than here. Let's just, oh, why am I doing this? So let's go to let's try to log this orders count. So you might think this is working because it's giving us 2 here. This order count, you might think, oh, it's working. We have use client here, but yes, if you look here, this component here is still being treated like a server component here. You see this S here is still being treated like a server component here. So what we have we can do here is that try to bring in another, because if you go now to our desktop, you see that it's working actually, but you see there's no error here. If you refresh, everything is working because it's still being treated like as a server component. Now what I want to do is let's just bring in one of the things we're going to use in this method here, as a const. Let's say path name, which is actually a client component, because when you bring path name now, that means we are using state and hooks. Remember I told you from the very beginning in the lecture about server components that they do not re-render. That means if you are using states here and hooks here, that means everything here can re-render. Yes, that means everything, this order counts can change, which it doesn't have to change. So here now what we can do is let's try to run this back. Let's try to run this. You see it's not going to show us anything. If you go now to our application, it will show us an error. Try to refresh and see. Yes, it's going to show us an error eventually. That's why you just see this blank screen here. You see a unhandled runtime error. Async await is not yet supported in client component, only server components. This error is often caused by accidentally adding use client to a module that was originally written for server. So you see that error there. So now, knowing this now, what are we going to do with this get order count? Where are we going to be getting this get order count from? So what we can do is we can call this get order count in the pages here. I'll copy it. This is it's in pagination here. So I'm just going to cut this. Control X. I'll remove this. I don't need it. We don't need it also here. Let's go to page here. This is where we are going to call it. We can call it here and pass it down as prop. It's going to work just fine. So because this in fact is an asynchronous component here, so these are the situations where you can pass down, you can call a function that is fetching data from our database in a parent component, and you pass down the result as a prop. You can do it like this here. So this is exactly what we're going to do. So here I'll come to pagination. I'll just say order count here is going to be order count. Since we are using this, we need to bring it here. So order count, which is a number. Okay, we have it like this now. Here we are going to do basically the same thing we do in the search. I'll say const here. Const search param. We're going to bring our search params. Search params here is going to be use search params here, and const. We're also going to be able to route. let's just use the routing which we have been using. Okay, we need to bring in use router from next navigation. Okay, with this now, I'm going to create total pages. I'm going to get the total number of pages which we have in our application and the page number which we are currently on here. So I'll say const page num here. I'll just say page num. I'm going to convert whatever we have here into a number, and I'll say search params. Remember, we are getting get page because we are going to store this in the search param as page here, or the default. If we do not find any page, we just want to set the default to 1, or we just take 1. So that's the page number. Another thing I want to get here is the total pages here. Total pages is equals to mat.sil, and we want to take the order count divided by 10 to get the total number of pages which we want. Now let's just create a function to set those pages. So const set page params. Here is going to take a page which is going to be a number here, and here we'll say const params. We'll create a new URLSearchParams. We don't need to do all of this here. I'm going to delete this here. I'll say params dot set page. Here we just say page dot to string, and we redirect to this very page here using router dot replace the path name with whatever we have here. Now we just need to call this set page params. We need to call now this search page params whenever we are clicking these buttons here. So we need to wire up an on-click event here. Say on-click. Since this is a client component, so it's perfectly fine to do it like this to get the on-click here. So first thing I'll check is if the page here, if page number here is equals to 1, I just want to return from this function, because if the page number is 1, I don't want to like go beyond 1, like 1 0. We don't want to have 0 pages, so it's going to mess up our application. So I'll just check if page number here is equals to 1, then we want to return, else we want to set the page number to page num minus 1. So this is just basic pagination. We are not trying to do something fancy with this pagination. We just want to make it very, very basic here. So that's why I'm just setting this on click here inside this buttons here. And this other one here, I want to check also. But before we check, let's first wire up this click event like this. Let's check if page num is equals to total number of pages. If the page num here is equal to or greater than here, also equals to or greater than total pages, and here we just need to say set page param to page num plus 1. So this is to go to the next page. So let's see if this is going to work now. Here, let's go back, let's go to where we are testing. Now we don't have anything to filter here. Let's go to the next page. Okay, this is not going to work now. Actually this is not going to work because we are still setting our page to 1. We need to change that because we are still setting our page to 1. So what do I mean by that? If you come to table here, remember this get orders, we are just hard coding it to 1 here. That's why it's giving us an array of 10, but we need to change that. If you go to our page here, you see that we are getting page here. We are getting page here, which is actually a string. So we need to convert that page to a number. So let's say const here page, and we'll convert it to a number, or we set it to 1. Let's log this page to the console here. CLJ page. See, right now it's going to give us 1 here. Search param dot page. Yes, right now it's giving us 1. Now what we need to do is we need to also pass this page with this query here. So page here is equals to page. Let's go to the table. Say page is going to be a number, page number, like this. And now instead of just passing one here, let's pass page. Now I can get rid of these orders here. Let's go back. Let me hide this. Okay, let's click here now. Okay, something is definitely wrong. Let me refresh. Let's click on next page. Let's go back to the app and see what is wrong. No, let's go back here. We have here pagination. I don't think the problem is coming from here. Let's check our page where we are calling. Okay, this is it, get order counts. Here, instead of passing just this modern, which is just going to give us one page here, let's pass our query. Let's pass our query, whatever we're going to pass here. Let's pass query here like this. So with this now, if we come, let's check and see. Yes, let's go to the next page now. Yes, you see, our pagination is working. If we click any further, we cannot go any further. So with this now, you see, let's go back. Yes, first page. Try to look at the URL up here. This URL up here. You see the page number now is 1. If you go to the next page, it changed to 2. You're on page 2 here. You cannot go any further. You come back, you cannot go below 1. So this is just a simple pagination component which we have implemented here. Now I want to disable this button when we reach the last pages of this section. So let's just go and disable these buttons when we reach the last pages here. So I'll come here. Let's go to pagination, back pagination. Yes, we're going to do that work here. So I'll come to this button. You know, this is a button element, so it has this disabled property. If page is equals to 1 with disabled, and also we come here, if page is greater than equals to pages, here we'll say disabled. Now these buttons are disabled here. If you go to your application, you see that this async and await is not yet supported, only server component. Oh yeah, that was an error from earlier. I was afraid. Let's go to next. Okay, let's go to back. Okay, but now you see our disable button is not working. We are on the last page here. It's not yet working. So let's add some styles. We're going to add some styles here manually in order to make the buttons to get to work here. I'll say class name here. When it is disabled here, say disabled here. Let's try to reduce the opacity to 50, and also I want to give a cursor pointer. No, the cursor here is going to be not allowed. I'll copy this class. I'll paste it here also. Now let's check. Yes, you see, we are the last page now. You see, we cannot go any further here. This is the second page. If you look at our if you look up here, you see that we are the second page here in our URL. If you go back here, okay, here now is clicking, but we still see this hand icon here. You see, if you come here, we still see this hand icon here. That means we need to provide some styles also for that conditionally. So we need to come here and we're going to put here disabled, because we are just putting everything here now. Just say disabled like this, and here we say disabled cursor not allowed. If we go now, it's going to fix that issue which we had. Yes, let's refresh. Async await is not yet okay, because we are still having our components as async await. Oh, I'm going to remove this async here so that the guy stop complaining, because we still have the async here. Let's go back. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, he's going to stop complaining now. you see now that we have our hand icon here. If you go to next, we're on the second page, but now look, the not allow icon is here. You see, you cannot go any further. But if you come to previous here, we have the icon, and this is the last page here. So finally our pagination is working just fine. Now what we need to do is to take care of these sections here. So when we just click on this, we want to filter the product here. When we click on these buttons here, let's take care of these sections before we wrap up this section. This was a long one. I'm sure you can do this one because it follows the same pattern which we have been doing. So if we come to, let's come to order link here. We're going to do the same thing we've been doing over and over again. Here, as a const, first start with the search params. Use search params here, and the next as a const path name, use path name, use router. All of this I'm going to get them from next navigation. Get this also from next navigation. You see these two here, we have next router. Don't get it from next router. This is the legacy way of doing it. You need to get it from next navigation. So actually here we don't even need this next router here. Yes, we don't even need to set that next router there. So I'm going to remove it because already we have our links here. So we don't need to set next router. There, we have the links here already. Now instead of setting status like this, I'm going to get status from our search params. So I'll say const status is going to be, you're going to come from search params.get. Instead of status here, I'll say search. Here I want to get the search from here, and now so whatever we are searching, we are also going to get it from this method here. We are going to get it from here, and here also we are setting, let's set the default to instead of all, I'm going to set the default to an empty object like this. Now let us create the links which we are going to pass here, because we need to pass some links there. I'll say const, I'll call this get, I'll just say get links, yes, like this. And here I'm going to create a new URLSearchParam here, and here we'll set search to status here. Yes, and here we can just return the path name and our params here. So we're just returning the path name and the params here, and we can just call now this get link here. Wherever we have this href here, we can call get link. And here, instead of passing all here, I'm not going to pass all here. I'll just pass an empty string like this. And here, can remove here. I'll remove. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Here is going to be on the way. Instead of pending here, I'll say on the way. And this one is going to be delivered like this. Let's just add another one here while we are here. Control V here. This is going to be for pending. This is going to be for pending. This is pending. Okay. Now with these changes, I think this is, we are good to check this now. Let's check. Okay, we have this error, use search param only works on, okay, you already know what that error is. So we need to make this component a client component here. We say use client. Okay, let's check if we are not doing anything again. So let's come and check. Let's wait for it to refresh. Voila, you see we have all others here. Let's click on this one here. Yes, on the way. Here, let's go to delivered. Yes, pending. Yes. So let's come to all others. Let's try to go to the next page by clicking on this button. You see we have page 2 here. So let's try to click on pending here. You see we have nothing on page 2, even to deliver, nothing. On the way, nothing. Why is this happening here? It's because when we are on page 2, we are searching only on that page 2, which is not going to give us anything here. So what we can do is, let's go back to the application here. Let's go to where we are getting the link. After we set the search here, what we also want to set pagination. Let's say params dot set page. Here we want to set the page to the first page. So if you go now and try, it's going to work just fine. Let me refresh. Let's come back to orders. Let's click next. Try to click on pending. Yes, you see we only have this and our buttons are grayed out here. Let's go to here, delivered. Yes, let's go to on the way. Yes, so you see this functionality is now working fine as expected. So with this now complete, this is where we come to an end of this section here. This is where we come to an end for this section. In the next section, we are going to see how we can implement this button, how we can create an order, and how we can edit that order to change the location of where the order is at a particular time. So see you in that section and have a nice time. Bye.